The term threat hunting has evolved with its own mutated form and definition over this small period of time. And when I read or practice this at my work, I see various hypotheses on how this needs to be done or being proposed. But when it comes to a research blog being published by an enterprise or a security vendor of a continued or a new discovered APT group with a couple of IOCs and some TTPs, threat hunter, this term threat hunting gets its own approach, depending upon the person who tries to handle it. I mean, it also depends upon how mature your SOC is, your Intel team, your CERT, etc. I mean, if you practice those kind of Intel-driven SOC operations. But this gets even more interesting when it comes to some kind of global hacking campaign involving involving a software used by many organizations worldwide. In other words, what they call it as a supply chain compromiser. This approach is the approach on hunting gets even more spicy and interesting. I mean, the one topic on the SolarWinds Sunburst campaign, which we have been continuously seeing, uh, has some interesting IOCs and TTPs published on those research blogs. So let's discuss some quick ways on how we can hunt them down, the internals on the DGA backdoor, and more. I welcome you to the second episode on Intel Archives. I mean, as soon as you see a research blog which is going to have some IOCs and signatures published, it's better you use them as quickly as possible. The best thing is to use the IOCs to hunting. Also, don't forget if there is any idea signatures being published, I would highly recommend you to deploy it in your environment as well. In our case of Sunburst SolarWinds, there have been a couple of IOCs has been published, so you can use it to hunt depending upon the usage or the maturity of your SOC. Deploy those idea signatures. Don't forget, YARA is so useful, I'd say. So it's better you quickly use some open IOC scanners like Loki to use those YARA rules. And don't forget, you can retro hunt in Virus Total and other public sandboxes using those YARAs for some other extra hashes. Let's cover this in a separate video. In terms of hunting it down, the best way to start is to search for the presence of the .NET assembly DLL itself. There are two places to check for you. One is to check on the installation folder itself, which is going to be the SolarWinds Orion installation folder on program files, SolarWinds Orion, and the Sunwinds Orion core business layer.dll. The other one is as per Microsoft is to look on the .NET assembly cache folder, which is going to be in the system32 config, system profile, local assembly temp, and the temp actually varies on this one. And if any of it matches to one of those hashes, I would highly recommend you to have a quick look on this one. Moving on, if you remember in the episode on, I was specifically speaking about this named pipes. If you see this kind of long string of named pipe has been hard coded inside the Sunburst backdoor. So the best and the quick solution to hunt them down is to look into event log 17 and 18 on named pipe door creation to see whether the backdoor code was initiated. Please remember that even though the backdoor code was initiated, this is the first action taken after the 12 to 14 day of dormant period of the compromised DLL. So there is no need to panic immediately as soon as you see this, but it's better to start looking very deep the moment you see one of it. I just put up a sample Splunk query for this name pipe one into hunted event logs, but I highly recommend you to look into subcrime because I already saw that there have been predefined hunting queries has been defined for QEDA, Elastic, Sigma, and other CM solutions based on your interest. One more thing is an interesting one to see on this named pipe string is that it needs to be running within the context of the SolarWinds business layer host.exe. And this is also very important. Is that this also suggests that the stage one backdoor has been activated. So this is very quick hunting alarm, I would say, to start into to perform a deep IRN forensics on the infected host. So now let's speak on hunting the DGA. As I was saying to you that there have been a couple of IOCs being published, which are which can be a couple of domain names and hashes. But for this specific case of SolarWinds Sunburst, the subdomain which is generated as part of the main C2, which is the AVSM cloud, differs depending upon the victim. That means the subdomain has been constructed with the DGA, which is dynamically generated based on the data of the machine. In other words, it's better that you start looking into your proxy logs, your DNS logs, which you collect into a CM to hunt for those patterns of subdomains, rather than looking those outside. Because when I was trying to read some of the perspectives of some security analysts, they immediately wanted to go to do a recon of those C2 in PassiveDNS rather than looking it into their logs. It's actually a good practice, but for this specific case, I would say as the subdomain is being generated depending upon the victim and depending upon the machine data, it's better you hunt them down from your logs rather than looking it from outside. So this is going to be a sample subdomain query, which is going to have this trailer end of DNS, which is going to be constant. But if you have a close look on this, there's going to be a 16 bytes of int, which can be separated into 8 bytes of data. So the first 8 bytes, which is going to be unique to every environment. I mean, it's going to be a unique GUID of the infected machine. Second part of it has the basic 32 encoded string of the victim itself. So let's have again a quick revision of how this GUID has been generated. At the start, the malware obtains the computer domain name, and it has a long list of checks. If the domain name is empty, the malware quits by itself. So once it obtains the domain name, it generates an 8-bit user ID, which is obtained from a clear system footprint, which consists of 3 fields, which is going to be the MAC address, the computer domain name, and the UID, the machine's UID, which is obtained from the registry. Once this is obtained, this which is on the MD5, which is on the format of MD5 hash, this MD5 hash is squeezed into a custom XOR domain, which is implemented from the create secure string code in the backdoor function, which then is been finally base32 encoded. Let's have a quick look on the 3 stages of the Sunburst backdoor operation. The first stage is going to be the passive, or as FireEye say, it's the C2 coordinator, which we already saw a few times in the past videos, and this one as well, is that it tries to form the subdomain obtaining the record of the machine. And once the stage 1 passed, the stage 2 gets activated with when it obtains a response from the DNS record, which is to be within the range. And this has been achieved from the code level itself. Let's go back to the code quickly, which is going to be within this IP address server. So one of it has to be within this range to pass to the stage 2. Once this happens, it goes to the stage 2, which now has a flag set within it, and the written reply contains a canonical name or the C name in the subdomain, which obtains a new C2 now. And this gets a bit interesting if you see the IOC is published by FireEye. You can see that it has a DNS client record of C name, which has the fully qualified name, as well as a new C2. Actually, this refers to the second stage. Also, at the code level, if you see that the flag which I was speaking about in the stage 2, which actually sends some interesting information back. Depending upon the flag which it sets, it tries to obtain the service list which the machine is running. I mean, the service list contains, if you go inside service list, it contains all the info about the AV products. And this is where the amazing research from the Netresec team, the DGA the decoder they have developed shows that this has been transmitted from the victim's machine to the C2. If you go back to the presentation, this is what achieved by the stage 2 flag set. The stage 2 flag is set at the code level you have seen reads, depending upon the flag it's set, it also sends the info on the AV products being started and stopped within the machine. And this is where the amazing research from Netresec team shows that they developed Sunburst domain decoder, It's pretty much amazing, which finds not only the stage 2 domain, but it also shows that what antivirus products being started and stopped at the victim level. So let's have a quick look on the analysis of the DGA using the decoder developed by the Netresec team. And here you go. Just on a click of a button, it's amazing to see how we can quickly decode. And if you have a closer look, the first part of this kind of a weird string is nothing but the GUID, which is unique to every environment, where the second part contains the timestamp and the third part contains info on the DJ itself. Which, if you go further, it will show you that it also has the AV products, and this is done by the stage 2 level depending upon the flag it sets. So if you can see, it shows that there is CrowdStrike running, and in some cases I also noticed that there was also very much pretty interesting info that some of the antivirus has been stopped, and Windows Defender is running. You can see ESST is running, ESST is stopped. It's pretty amazing. I let you play with it by yourself. And another thing which you can do with this thing is that you can always also look for the stage 2, which pretty much shows the stage 2. Here it sees that it shows to some kind of government domain. When we go back to the Netresec block itself, when we go back to the Netresec block itself, it shows the target Sunburst victim, which has this one, and they have updated recently. This one, actually, this block was updated recently. I mean, amazing research from this team, guys. I would highly recommend you to look into all the posts written by them, because they started, like, it seems 3 posts they have written where they have clearly explained everything. Whatever I spoke now was just a small summary, I would say, from this, but I'll let you read very much deep. But uh, on this, and if you're really interested, I would highly recommend you to look into the blog from Pervasio, because they have to have a 3 blog post series where they have explained clearly how the DGA internals work. And moving on, this is where, as a security analyst or Intel guy, we can start what we can perform direct recon on the C2C. I mean, there are a lot of tools available in the market, and you by this time would be already familiar with most of them, like VirusTotal, PassiveDNS, Domain Tools, Cisco Investigate, etc. But not to forget that there have been some amazing contributions from the community itself. Which the first one I would like to give some credits, or to give a shout out, is to for BAM and ACK. But if you go to one of the recent Git page of Babanak, where they have already published the unique host names, which is nothing but the complete passive DNS replication, I'd say. And the most important thing, which I like to point out, is that on the README, or the important notes on this block, pretty much if you come down, this is what you'd say. This is what you say. As an outside observer, I would caution anyone from concluding much more that there was beacon, because if you are a responding organization, they again recommend you to look for DNS queries of this AVSM cloud in your logs. I mean, please start hunting for this. Even though there have been amazing contribution from the research community, that passive DNS has been already published, but it's better that you start responding and hunting from your logs, because, again, to say it for the last time, or one more time, I'd say that the subdomain is being generated, the C2 domain is being generated within your environment itself. So it's always important that you start hunting from your logs, rather than directly jumping to conclusions by looking into the passive DNS data, saying that, okay, my organization is not present there, so that means I'm not affected. No, it's not. It's the other way around for this case, I would say. So one way to do some recon of C2C is to use virus folder quickly. So I will show you a quick example of it. Let's put that C2 domain here. Let's go to the DNS records. Let's simulations. It's going to show you a quick history of the PassiveDNS application. Either you can use this virus folder graph to build your own subdomain analysis graph, or you can come down to look into the community contributions done by amazing people. So let's go back to one of it. Which one? Let's click any one if you want. Let's click one of it, and if you can see quick it loads, it's going to be a bit long. It's really long actually, and you can start exploring in VT graph, which I already did. And if you want to export either the the domain or the hash or the IPs contained in this one to start hunting in your environment, the quick way is to go to download list of nodes. Let's come down domain. It has all options: file, domain, IP, URL. The one we are interested in is domain, and you can start looking for passive DNS queries. Or else the best one is to look for passive total. If you have a free community edition of passive total, just put up the main C2 domain, and you can come down to the subdomains, and it's going to replicate. It's going to give you a lot and lot of subdomain DB. Or else I would highly recommend you in this case to start is to go with Babanex list, because he has already done all the work for us. Huh? It's something huge, I would say. It's a huge list, and that's been already done for us. Also, there have been some other amazing community contributions. Also to mention was to have the people already done the decoding for us. Huh? The list of victims has been already decoded and put up in Pastebin. Before moving on to the next slide, the thing to really stress here is that when you find those kind of targeted sunburst victim, it's really useful to have some victim notification. It will help national search to quickly help victim organizations to start IR trash. So moving on, there have been a lot of community contributions, amazing research. Uh, there have been one script from Red Team to start decoding, but the one I would highly recommend you to look is to look on Netresec decoder, which you already saw in this video. It's pretty much impressive because it gives you amazing details of stage 2 AB products uh, and full decode list of the subdomain. We all know that forensics feeds threat intelligence, but as soon as you see any match to one of the IOCs or the hunting perform, I would highly recommend you to immediately isolate the machine, capture disk and memory forensics, because not we can't hunt everything with the IOCs and TTPs, because there's gonna be we also need to analyze how the compromises happen. So the forensics has gold mine of data, which in turn feeds threat intelligence, which can be again used for hunting. So you see, it's like a food chain. The loop has to be done again and again. And in the final stage of the slides, let's see a quick analysis on the MITRE attack. If you have seen the episode 1, I did a full analysis of the Sunburst Backdoor. And when I was doing, I clearly observed and followed this MITRE attack. If you have seen the first stage for episode 1 video, you would have known that it was trying to query the registry because it wants to disable the AB products. It also queried the registry because it wants to read the machine UID. It was doing process discovery because it wants to learn of all the anti-RE tools being installed on the machine. Plus, also does a lot of service discovery, files and directories plus service discovery, because it wants to know the AB products running. It was implementing its own DGA algorithm. It was also discovering the security software, which you already saw. There was a lot of data encoding being done, and pretty much it's like the attacker has done a lot of groundwork before executing this attack. I think it's right time we conclude now the episode 2. I would highly recommend you to check episode 1, the previous video, where I have done a complete analysis of the Sunburst Backdoor. And if you like to have a copy of the slides, I would be happy to share. Please drop a comment. Please like and subscribe, and any feedback is highly welcome for me to improve. And I will soon meet you in the next episode, which is going to be the supernova web analysis. Bye.